flags on.
All the flags.
So, how long does it take to drive across the ranch like this?
Depends on where we're going, but it's not abnormal for the men to take a 45-minute trip from the barn to where they're working cattle. They count on it being a half hour to an hour, depending on what part of the ranch they're headed to. So this was easy today. They're about 15 minutes from the barn. So that would be a easy day, but that's not typical.
How many miles across is the ranch in its widest spot, I guess?
It's probably 25 miles across as the crow flies, but to drive it on a road, it would take a minimum of 45 minutes, probably an hour to go cross country. We can get from our house to the house on the east side in 45 minutes. Just using highway dirt roads.
Okay.
So this is our barn. They have a bike, a four-wheeler or a motorbike, a dirt bike over here. You can't see it, but they go gather the horses in. You can barely see them on the grass skyline over there. We have about 40 horses. So they run them in once they get home from their work day, and they bring them all into this round pen. And then they rope out whatever horses they're going to use for the next day. And the horses go over here to our right into this pen. And that's where they eat hay and stay till the next morning when they catch the day's horse and use it. So then once they catch the horses, this is our barn. And sometimes if we have a younger horse, they may work it inside. If it's cold weather, the barn's nice for that also. But now we'll take a trip. The retired saddles are hanging in the air. You can take note of those. This barn is about 10 years old, but it's well used. We age brand our heifers in the spring in here.
What's that mean?
We put the 6 on the shoulder, like those heifers had the 6 on the shoulder. It says that they were born in 2016. So we know how old our cows are. Since we have so many cattle, we don't ear tag everything. We don't have a name and a number for everything. So if we age brand them, heifers get ear notches, then we can keep track of how old they are and manage the herd a little that way.
Okay.
So over here, the men usually hang their saddle blankets here so they can dry out. And then the men have all their own areas. JD's horses are saddled over on this side. Those are his stalls specifically. And then the other men in the yard are over here to our left. So once they catch their horse out of the round pen, they bring them in here and tie them up by a grain box. And extra halters are here. And then we come in here to the tack room.
Talk about these, like their equipment here that they have, maybe, like right in here.
Yep, so they brush the horses. They like to roll in the dirt, so you've got to brush the horses. In the summer, the flies are bad. They keep fly spray handy. They have the curry. If there's a lot of mud on a horse, this is really good for brushing the mud off of them, and then just brushing hair. In the spring, they shed a lot. And so they've got all the brushes right here handy. A lot of doctoring stuff might even be here too. I can see some iodine spray or scarlet if they've cut themselves, if there's any kind of wound, just to keep the flies out of it. That stuff is all here handy. We have halters, so they'll grab the halters to go catch the horses and keep those there.
Okay.
If you look behind you, those are all used horseshoes. Our men do all their own horseshoeing. So you'll see, if you just look around, this is actually what you put a horse's hoof on to trim it. They'll move this over by a stall and put the horse's hoof on there to trim, shape it up. We have an anvil over here where they shape the shoes. So these pieces of equipment are just for working the horseshoes. So you can see both of these. They've got the hammer.
So they just set the shoe on there and start,
Yep, shaping it
Pounding
for the
it.
horse's foot.
so it's shaped just like their hoof.
Yep.
So does your son know how to farrier?
Yep,
Like, that's the
Clayton
term, right?
He's learning, just the last couple of years, he's been learning how to do it, and this summer he has done the shoeing on all of the horses he's riding this summer.
Very cool.
This is an old cinder block kind of vet room that we've turned into a tack room. So you can take a look at all the saddles. This is probably the most important part of a cowboy's life right here, all the bridles. The men are out working, so you can see all the empty saddle racks. Those are being used today. They've got this tree in the middle. All their shafts are hanging up. You see different kinds of shafts. A shorter shaft is called a chink, so it only goes a little below the knee. In the winter, they wear something we call woolies, so they're fur lined, so they're a lot warmer when it's snowing outside.
And they strap those on.
You strap them on around the waist, and they cover their legs and keep them warm, but they also protect them with the rope over their leg, protect them if they're working cattle in the pen. All of their leggings are used for that. They come in different lengths. Some of the men build their own. Some of them have them custom made. Here's a set for a kid. So any age, you could come in here and be set up. You see their boots. They usually wear certain shoes to the barn and then kick those off and put their cowboy boots on. So they've got,
Show them the spur.
yep, they've got boots, and everybody here wears a set of spurs. And that's gives the horse a little more specific direction on paying attention to the rider. They
So
use
they
a lot of legs and kind of poke them right behind in their back part of their flank with the spur to tap them, tell them what to do, give them a lot of direction on what the horse needs to do for them. So everybody has their own spurs, and then extra equipment is hung up. Extra ropes are hanging around. You'll notice there's a lot of different material. This is rawhide. So these reins are made out of rawhide, and those would be special braiding. There's
So tell me how that fits on a horse and what goes in its mouth and what do those
Yep.
do, I guess.
So this goes over the nose, and this part right here is going to go in the horse's mouth, and this is on their tongue. And this halter right here would be specific to the needs of the horse. If you have a horse that doesn't put its head down or its nose down very well, they have different types of bits to work on making a horse pay attention to certain things.
So the reins, when you pull back on the reins, does it pressure on their
Yes.
tongue?
Yep, that's exactly what it does. And you'll see a different thing like a snaffle. It's just in there, and this is probably your most common type. Is used on a good horse that doesn't really need a lot of fine tuning. You'll see a snaffle bit on there. If JD's working a young horse, he just uses sometimes what's called a bozal, or just something that goes over their nose. A real young horse, you can see he has different sizes of bozals depending on the horse. There's some thicker ones, all the way up to this one. So they're very in tune to their horses. These men are all very good horsemen, and that's what they can do on the side here is take in young horses and build them to sell so that they can make money on the side. We're not able to allow the hired men to own their own cattle. So it does help them. It kind of gives them a perk if they have horses they can work with. It's kind of nice because they need horses to do their job. So if they're working on a young horse, they're training a horse that they can sell and using it for the job that needs done anyway. So there's bonuses. But over the years, JD has acquired all the materials to just make a good horse. And here's grain. Whenever they come in at the end of the day, they get a little bit of grain. We keep it in this tub over here. So they give each horse probably a coffee can full or a half a coffee can and dump it in those tubs out there to kind of reward the horse for its hard work at the end of the day.
Is that a whip over there?
Yes. So some of our men use a whip. You can use those when you're working cattle, kind of like a dog. I would say it just gives them some attention, makes them pay attention to the outside or to the rider. So that's JD's whip. I don't know what else. There's extra materials, though. You'll see extra cinches. He's got a trunk over here with extra leather. If last week we had our daughter's, her stirrup leather broke, so he had extra leather in there, and he was building her a new set of stirrup leathers. we were showing you the eye patches earlier. Here's some leftover jeans. That's all that's left. Making eye patches on all those pink eyes. So be careful if you wear jeans. They might get cut up around here.
That's right.
Here's a kid's saddle. So there are some smaller saddles that we have for the young kids around here.
See how small that is?
So this is one bum calf that we have. We had a man up by Gillette buy our bum calves this year, and this was a late one, so he hasn't picked this one up yet. And my daughters feed this one 2 to 3 times a day, and they become pretty friendly when they know that you're bringing them a bottle. But our heifers don't always make real good moms, or they kind of think this one was a twin. So a heifer has a hard enough time keeping track of one calf, let alone 2. So when we first get these calves in, I'll bring you to the calving shed. If it's bad weather or we have a mother that's having a hard time being a mom, we bring her and her calf into this shed. So you can see all the separate pens. Back in the day when we calved a little earlier, we used to calve in April. We used this a lot more because the weather required it. But there's, I believe, 16 separate stalls in here, and one's even been converted into a dog cage. There's a dog kennel in there that if we have a set of pups, that's where the mother usually starts off. And this was used for pulling calves or helping heifer's mother up, putting her with her calf if she was having a hard time taking care of it. So this is an older calving shed, and we've remodeled it a little bit to make it work for us. But that's what this is used for.
Cool. So tell me how they use these dirt bikes on the ranch.
So this dirt bike is used specifically to go get the horses in. They're usually in a pen fairly close to the house, and they'll go gather the horses with that. If it's really muddy, sometimes they will load that bike up to go check water. But typically it's used to gather horses. Notice the mosquitoes?
Yep, I'm getting covered by. So tell me what they use this for.
This is a road grader. Sometimes we call it a blade. And so if it gets really muddy, or in the winter, if we do get any quantity of snow, it's used to either improve the roads or clear snow in the mud.
Just to grade them out.
Yep.
Who drives it? Anybody?
JD or Hayden most of the time, but several of our men know how.
Got a big blade on there that'll swivel around for whatever you need. There's the cab, that's where the driver goes. Inside there.
Marley? Hi. Hi, I your water can for my flowers.
Big engine on the back.
I was doing my...
I'm gonna go get the bug, okay?
Alright, so what's this?
This is a skid steer, and this is probably a machine that we should have bought a long time ago. We've only had it for about 3 years, and this little machine can do anything.
Yeah.
It does anything and everything, from cleaning up stuff to hauling things. It's an amazing tool the men use for all kinds of stuff. It can unload a feed truck. Right there you can see a portable welder is on the rack. So they were moving it around from place to place. It's also can be used as a generator. That portable welder can be a generator.
So you climb in there and there's a couple joysticks that you use to steer it. It's pretty cool. You put one in each hand and you push and pull forward or back, and that lifts this thing or causes these things to skid in reverse or forward and turns it.
Yep.
I've driven these for many, many hours.
Yeah, and over here we have a fire truck. This is actually a county fire truck. We did build our own fire truck, and it's over on the east side of the ranch in South Dakota. But these are a big 3-axle machine. It's quite a tool. They can spray water out of the front. This is one of the newest trucks in Niobrara County. We just got this summer. So we park it in here. It's full of water, ready to go. If we had a fire call right now, we could take off with it.
Big old light bar on the front. Hose bib there. Huge tires. Big smokestack. Huge gasoline tank. And this is the water tank.
Yep. It holds, what, maybe 1,000 gallons or more?
Yeah. Big old water pipe on the back. Look in the cab. Have to climb up there. Maybe not. Looks like an old style cab. Ooh. Whoa, there it goes. So that's a big truck.
Yep. And then if you look out
So
here,
tell me why they'd need this fire truck on the ranch.
well, you saw all that grass. If we get a lightning strike, it's got a lot of fuel on this ranch to burn. And so anyone who sees smoke during a lightning storm, we usually have our men out at certain spots watching. And they'll call on the radio and tell us where the fire is, or neighbors, and we keep in touch with everybody. If you look out the door here, this is a small water spray rig. So it's more of a hot shot, but they have that full of water for this time of year as well. If they're not spraying weeds with it, it's ready to go fight fire as well.
How often do you have to put out a fire each summer?
Some summers, I bet we've had 14 fires on the ranch. This summer we've had none because we have so much green grass.
Yeah, so rainy and
We've
wet.
had so much rain. It's been, a lot different.
Cool.
Tap, what are we doing?
Do you hear Lisa?
What are we doing, Tap?
Just been bum cat.
You're feeding the bum calf for a minute? We have Marley and Tap helping us feed the bum calf.
Stand on the
Marley, how much does it like to drink?
We used to feed it a whole bottle, like when you guys were gone, but when my dad was in charge of making the bottle, we did like all the way to the 3.
Okay. So does the calf like to drink milk, Tap? Yeah.
Yes. He's got milk in it.
It
We
has
feed
milk in
him
the bottle?
night and day. He don't just milk.
You feed it night and day?
That calf gets rainy day.
Yeah.
That's like was a rainy day.
Here, let's some air into it, Molly.
Why do you have to let air into it? To get hard
Because
to suck?
otherwise you can't suck it.
So everybody on the ranch can do a job, huh?
That's right.
Little guys can feed the bum calf.
What's your job?
What's your job, Tap?
Get bit by mosquitoes.
Do you help Daddy check water sometimes?
Yeah. I help my dad check water and shovel and just don't get Jaden. I'm able to do lots of things.
You get Hayden unstuck?
One day, so like we were stuck, and then Clayton had to come get us.
Yeah, sometimes we get stuck, don't we? You see the calf wagging his tail? He's happy to be eating, isn't he?
It's actually a girl.
It's a girl, a heifer.
Every time I was
This is Mrs. Williams' office on the ranch. When I'm not out where we have been touring, this is my school desk, and you'll notice I have an adjustable desk so I can stand or sit, and I do all my teaching and meetings from this little corner of my office. And then Dr. Haywood can glance around because we're on a ranch. You can see my husband built a gun rack. We have deer antlers. These deer have been, most of them, that whitetail came off the ranch. That deer and elk came from the Elk Mountain, Saratoga area, and you need a place for hats, right? So that's what those are, retired cowboy hats, most of them, all but 2. And then this is where we do ranch business, so it's kind of a messy place. Another whitetail that came off the ranch. So those are from Niobrara County. And this is where we work and do school.
Cool.
But showing you the map. So this is Niobrara County. The yellow is the 4-3 ranch. So we have been over here on this west side of the highway. And then the ranch goes here and goes into South Dakota, another 20,000 acres. And then we lease the Hughes Ranch. So all this dark blue is country that we lease and own or do operation in. So it's quite an area. Lusk is right here. And so we are on the north end of the county.
Back that way. You have your own gravel pit.
Yep.
Maintain
Then
roads.
The perimeter that you can see as far as the horizon, that's the north end of the ranch, that ridge over there with the little storage tank. And if you just keep circling around, once you cross the highway, you can see some high ridges over there. That's on our ranch. And we go into what we call flat top, those ridges over there. And following the road all the way to the right, that is our ranch country that you're looking at. As far as you can see, that covers where we run cattle.
It's big country. It's a big backyard.
Yes.
And there's these oil rigs from time to time, pumping oil.
Yep, we have about 35 oil wells right now in operation. And so depending on what time of day you come out here, you'll see the semis coming to unload a lot of those tanks and haul the oil. They haul it to Newcastle, which is 45 miles north of here, to a refinery. And Sinclair, that's a well-known Wyoming company, a lot of that oil from here goes to Sinclair.
And those are just other companies that come in and pump the
Yes.
oil on.
Yep, Brightburn is a company out of Houston, Texas that owns the oil, the rights on these oil wells right now.
Pretty cool. Here comes another truck. Well, that wraps up the field trip, guys. I want to thank Lisa for having us to her ranch and let her say goodbye to you and say whatever she wants to finish things up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Haywood, for coming to Lusk a couple days early so you could come to the ranch. And my kids really enjoyed seeing you and visiting you, and we had a great time together. Thanks, kids, for joining us on this field trip.
All right, guys. Thanks for coming. Bye.